What's up everyone, Alex here. This is my updated JRPG shopping guide for 2024. As it turns out, I missed a few games that I feel are deserving to be on this list, as well as make some corrections and omissions to some entries here. So think of this as a supplement to the other video. That being said, everything that applied to the previous video applies to this one as well, and counts as a separate entry. And anyone who watched that section after the Dragon Quest III HD 2D remake knows what I'm talking about. As with the previous video, everything here is either a JRPG or a game of interest to fans of JRPGs, and I've taken the liberty to mark the new and updated entries into chapter markers for your convenience. And yes, we have a lot more to cover, so let's get right into it.
Hi there everybody, this is David over at the channel David Vink, and thank you so much Alex for having me on. He asked me to recommend one game that came out this year that I would say like is a must purchase, a must buy, and oh, that's easy. It's gotta be the Dragon Quest III HD 2D remake. I first played this game back when I was a little kid, back when I was 10 years old, and I have never gotten enough. I played it on the NES, I played it on the Game Boy Color, I played it on the SNES, I played it on mobile, and now we can play it on the Switch, and whew, they've added in some great quality of life features here. We have a brand new job class. You are able to warp whenever and wherever you want to. Yeah, you always have like the zoom spell, but now it works kind of like from the fast travel map. It's just really freaking cool. There's a new monster arena that you can partake in, and you can fight, different monsters. You can actually find monsters around the field, friendly monsters who will join up with you. It's like a whole mini game in and of itself. And even if you've played the original game, this really deep dives into the story. You get to see new vignettes. You get to see new areas. You get to see the past, back when Ortega was traveling, before you ever went out on your own journey. So you get to see what was going on with your father. Not only that, there are new boss fights to partake in as well. There's just so much here. This is definitely the definitive way to play this game, and we all know that we're also going to be getting a part 1 and part 2 coming out in the following year. So let's wrap up this entire trilogy and then hope for the Zenithan trilogy as well. Thank you again, Alex, for having me on, and I do hope to see all of y'all at my channel, David Vink RPGs. Have a good day.
Are you obsessed with seeing how to perfectly min-max everything to the best of your ability while aiming to build the best party setup you can ever make? If your answer to this is a resounding yes, then you'll love what Class of Heroes 1 and 2 Complete Edition has in store. Class of Heroes 1 and 2 Complete Edition contains both classic dungeon crawler RPGs that have been known to test the mettle of hardcore RPG fans for years, and you're now able to pick them up on PS5, Switch, and PC. Farmagia is a take on Pikmin that has a ton more added depth than the aforementioned game. You'll have to balance planting seeds that will either yield you monsters that can help you with your crops, improve your monsters, or join you in battle. There's even advanced research tracks that greatly enhances every aspect of your gameplay. If this all sounds intriguing to you, Farmagia is out now on PS5, Switch, and PC. Enter Magnolia Bloom in the Mist was one of the most anticipated sequels of the year, as it's the quintessential 2D Souls-like game that you'll want to play. The blending of gorgeous 2D artwork and the depth of gameplay that Souls games have, to me, has always been a perfect combination. And as somebody who isn't really that great with 3D Souls-likes, 2D Souls-likes seem to feel just a tiny bit friendlier. Enter Magnolia is out now on PlayStation platforms, Series X and S, Switch, and PC.
Hi guys, it's Mandy from Manually Plays. First of all, thank you to Alex for having me on this great collab with other great content creators. Now the game I recommend is Paper Mario: The Thousand Year Door. This game is a must play for really anybody. It's like stepping into a storybook. It has that kind of whimsical vibe to it. Now, what makes this game so special? Well, first is the gameplay. The gameplay has this awesome turn-based combat, and the inclusion of the audio audience and the stage makes it really fun. And not to mention, pulling off these action commands to deal more damage is satisfying. And Mario is not the only one doing damage, you also get a partner, and depending which partner you have, they do their own unique attacks. The second reason why I love Paper Mario The Thousand Year Door is the story and dialogue. The writing is honestly top notch. The dialogue is witty and the story is very engaging. You will find yourself generally laughing at these different dialogues, and I love how the humor is cleverly woven into the narrative. Now, with it being a Mario game and a Mario RPG to boot, it's very simple and is the perfect gateway for newer JRPG fans. It's easy to pick up and to understand, plus it will get you hooked from the beginning, unlike other JRPGs with their very daunting mechanics. In short, Paper Mario The Thousand Year Door is more than just a nostalgia trip. It's a brilliantly crafted game that appeals to both old fans and new players. The combination of enhanced graphics and engaging writing makes this a timeless classic, and since this is a remake, it does offer some quality of life changes. But overall, it stays really true to its original source material. And whether you're revisiting this game or playing it for the first time, I guarantee it's gonna be a fun time from start to finish. Once again, thank you Alex for having me on. You can find me on my channel, Mandy Lee Plays. I like to do JRPG content and stuff like that. Anyways, adios.
Eiyuden Chronicle 100 Heroes isn't pretending to be a modern turn-based JRPG, but what it does offer, and something that it excels at extremely well, is its ability to take you back to a much simpler time, back when games could have mildly frustrating design decisions that, in reality, makes you realize just how far JRPGs have come since then. Eiyuden Chronicle 100 Heroes feels very much like those early pioneer days when games like Suikoden would come out and try anything and everything under the sun, delighting and surprising fans with its offerings, while carving a spot for itself in the pantheon of JRPGs out there. Eiyuden Chronicle 100 Heroes is out now on all modern platforms. Of all the Metroidvanias I've played, and I've played a ton of them, I don't think anyone has ever come close to the feeling of playing Castlevania Symphony of the Night as Gestalt, Steam, and Cinder. And yet, they didn't stop there. There's an in-depth progression map that you can spend your hard-earned points on, fun mechanics that lets you alternate between your melee attacks and guns, and a whole bunch of other staples of the genre that just makes playing Gestalt, Steam, and Cinder so unique. You can pick up Gestalt, Steam, and Cinder on PC. The best parts of Dragon Quest Monsters The Dark Prince were things that I didn't expect to really like a lot, and it gave me a different perspective on monster taming turn-based JRPGs that I didn't have before. And in some cases, it even reminded me of the good times I had in the past when I did have to deal with an AI that I had no control over, and remembering the resulting experience to be quite good. The Dark Prince tries to coax us into letting go of our need for control, thereby allowing its monsters to do some of the work for us. And this design resulted in a relatively chill JRPG experience, despite the overarching premise being a bit darker than what we're used to. To put it simply, Dragon Quest Monsters The Dark Prince is yet another great Dragon Quest side game for fans of the series and for anyone wanting to play an easygoing JRPG with a lot of fun customization. Dragon Quest Monsters The Dark Prince is out now on Switch and PC.
Hi there, my name is Daniel Santos. If you were to ask me what my favorite Persona game was prior to the release of Persona 3 Reload, I would have had a hard time giving a straight answer. Gameplay-wise, Persona 5 is definitely the most fun and refined, but in terms of story and characters, Persona 3 always resonated with me the most. Fortunately, Persona 3 is difficult to return to for multiple reasons. You either need to dig out the PS2 original, or the weird down-ported PSP version that was re-released recently. Not to mention, the original game hasn't aged well in terms of playability. Thankfully, with the release of Persona 3 Reload, I can simply point to it and say, yeah, that's my favorite Persona game. It has taken some of the quality of life improvements that the series has been working towards since its original release and smoothed over much of the rougher edges. Returning to Persona 3 through this remake has further cemented my love of the original game. Despite the changes in voice cast and some alterations to the story, the cast is just as lovable as I remember them, and the story remains equally as compelling. On top of that, the game looks and feels incredible to play, bringing it much closer to the standards of Persona 5. If you've never played a Persona game before, this is a wonderful place to start, and if it's been 2006 since you've played the original, I'd say it's high time to give it another go with this remake, as it truly preserves and elevates what made the PS2 original so special all those years ago. If you enjoyed my dulcet tones, be sure to check out my YouTube channel, which also goes by the name Daniel Santos.
Lost Eidolons: Veil of the Witch released on early access on PC this year, and many of you have talked so much about this series that I figured I'd include it here. For those who don't know, Lost Eidolons is a series of tactical RPGs that borrows elements from other tactical RPGs like Fire Emblem and makes it its own. And yes, it's a bit grittier looking than the Japanese-inspired art style we're used to. Veil of the Witch just expands upon what many love about the series, and once again, it's out on early access on PC. Since Sandland very much follows the events of both the anime and the manga as close as a game can get, I can say with certainty that you can just play the game if you so wish. In fact, there's an advantage to playing the game first, because its side quests and bounties, through its fun vehicular action RPG gameplay, will help you understand the lore of the world, which effectively enhances your appreciation of how each medium chooses to tell the same story. Sandland, as the last game that Toriyama himself would see before his passing, is a celebration of the man and his values, showing how much of this story spoke of his beliefs as both a creator and a human being. You can pick up Sandland on PlayStation platforms, Series X and S, and PC. WitchSpring R is a story-based RPG that reminds me a lot of Atelier, and with no Atelier releases this year aside from the mobile game, it's sure to delight fans of that game. What people don't know is that this is actually a remake of a game called WitchSpring 1, which features updated graphics and a ton of gameplay changes. And it's finally out on consoles, meaning PlayStation platforms, Xbox One, and Switch, in addition to PC.
Hey everybody, Eric here. Thanks so much, Alex, for having me back on today to talk about one of my favorite games of this year, my ultimate recommendation for 2024, which is going to be Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. So Final Fantasy VII Rebirth is a bold reimagining of a beloved classic, perfect for both newcomers and longtime fans. Obviously, as the continuation of Final Fantasy VII Remake, it expands and reinterprets the original story, delivering unexpected twists while remaining accessible to those unfamiliar with the series in the original game. Taking place beyond the confines of Midgar in a breathtakingly expansive world filled with lush landscapes, vibrant towns, and opportunities for exploration, it is just an absolutely amazing game, and the combat system masterfully blends action and strategy, allowing for seamless character switching and dynamic battles that feel both fresh and rewarding, quite possibly the best and most satisfying gameplay in a Final Fantasy game. And some of the most beloved characters in the Final Fantasy series are brought to life in a new way with greater depth, offering new insights into their personalities and the relationships that you can have between them all. The emotional richness here is amplified by these amazing visuals and the reimagined soundtrack that seamlessly merges nostalgia with modern sophistication. So whether you're drawn to the nostalgia of the original or intrigued by the promise of something new with the Final Fantasy Remake trilogy, Final Fantasy VII Rebirth is going to offer you an epic, emotionally charged journey that's accessible as it is unforgettable. It's more than a game, it's a chance to experience a story that redefined what modern JRPGs were back in the 90s, and it's doing it again even now in the 2020s. It's truly a great time to be a Final Fantasy fan. So that's my pick, and I'm sticking to it. So thanks so much, Alex, for having me on today. If you guys like weekly JRPG and Final Fantasy content, I would love to see you over on my channel. You can check me out at youtube.com/EricLadd, EREKLADD. Otherwise, on to the next one.
While Shiren the Wanderer, the mystery dungeon of Serpentcoil Isle, probably won't convert many fans to the roguelike dungeon crawler genre, that's mostly due to its somewhat niche appeal. However, those who enjoy character depth and growth in RPGs might want to give this game a try. Casual players will probably be averse to its unforgiving difficulty, but fans will find an enjoyable and satisfying experience that I highly recommend. If you're looking for an engaging challenge and an old-school dungeon crawling experience with some modern polish, then Shiren the Wanderer, the Mystery Dungeon of Serpentcoil Isle is right for you. And it's out on Switch, with the PC release slated for December 11th. Sky Ocean's Wings for Hire reminds me a lot of Skies of Arcadia. Set in the open skies, you'll experience adrenaline-filled turn-based dogfights as you take the role of captain and unite a party of ragtag sky pirates, setting upon an unforgettable, touching journey. Sky Ocean's Wings for Hire is out on PS5, Series X and S, Switch, and PC. Terra Memoria is a game that slipped my radar this year, and I'm happy to be able to tell you about it here. This is a turn-based RPG that combines beautiful pixel art with 3D artwork, creating a gorgeous aesthetic that helps it stand out amongst the other games on this list. It's also got a town-building mechanic that just endeared me to it, and you know I love me some city-building gameplay. Terra Memoria is out now on PS5, Series X and S, Switch, and PC.
Hey everybody, it's FemTrooper, and thank you to Alex for having me on today to recommend a 2024 JRPG, which of course is an easy one, because my favorite game of the year, without a doubt, is Like a Dragon: Infinite Wealth. Not only has this become one of my favorite games, it has become my second favorite JRPG of all time. So what's the deal? Why is it so great? This series is incredibly quirky, bizarre, weird, and outrageous, but it's full of great characters and is immensely emotional. The first game introduced us to a new protagonist, Ichiban Kasuga, who's incredibly lovable, which is a hard thing for a series to do when it's had the same amazing protagonist, Kiryu, for years. In Infinite Wealth, Ichiban returns with all his friends, but this time, Kiryu is also a main character, and the game is sort of split between being both of them. You find yourself in Japan and Hawaii, and one crazy adventure ensues. And yes, you do need to play Yakuza Like a Dragon in order to enjoy this, so definitely get on that if you haven't. I'm so glad this series went turn-based because it's exactly my kind of JRPG. Easy to understand yet fun battle system, amazing characters, deep storytelling, emotional moments, great music, and gorgeous graphics. It's comforting like Dragon Quest, which I know Ichiban would approve of. So don't skip out on this one since it came out earlier this year and you may have missed it. It's truly phenomenal. Thank you again, Alex, for allowing me to gush about one of my favorite games, and I hope to see everyone over at my channel.
Beyond Galaxyland is an incredible retro-looking, side-scrolling, turn-based RPG with a surprising amount of depth in both its storytelling and mechanics. It might look like a traditional adventure game at first glance, but it's got a lot to offer, from its exploration to the way you build up your characters. And when you get the chance to finally play it, you'll find an entertaining adventure, alongside a wonderful cast of characters that is truly out of this world. Beyond Galaxyland is out now on all modern platforms. Fantasian Neo Dimension answers the question of, what if Final Fantasy VII veered towards a different direction? Which was something Sakaguchi admitted during my interview with him. My personal favorite feature of Fantasian when I played it on Apple Arcade has got to be its Dimension system, which allows you to bank enemy encounters in order to face these groups of enemies all at once. And the skill trajectories in Fantasian were super fun and allowed for some truly fun combinations and battle encounters. Fantasian Neo Dimension can be considered the definitive version of the game, with new features such as an added normal difficulty option, English and Japanese voice acting, 4K support, and the ability to swap out battle songs with select songs from the Final Fantasy franchise. And it's coming out on December 5th on PlayStation platforms, Series X and S, Switch, and PC. I didn't cover the console release of 8-Bit Adventures 2 this year, but I really should have. Throughout my time with it when I played it on PC, I found myself quickly arrested by the presentation and the feeling that I was playing one of the classics in the genre. And this is no thanks in part to its intriguing introductory sequence that, along with 8-Bit Adventure 2's gameplay, made my experience feel familiar in all the best ways. 8-Bit Adventures 2 is out now on PlayStation and Xbox platforms, Switch, and PC. If you're thinking of coming back to Final Fantasy XIV, then you're gonna want to pick up its latest expansion, Dawntrail. This new expansion increases the level cap to 100, introduces the Viper and Pictomancer classes, as well as involve the player in a bid to determine the ruler of a far-off kingdom. But, of course, things won't be as straightforward as one might think, as the story merely sets the stage for a brand new 10-year story that's sure to be epic and fun. Final Fantasy XIV Dawntrail is available on PlayStation platforms, Series X and S, and PC.
Hello everyone, my name is Fedro from Cozy Veggie here on YouTube, and with the holidays fastly approaching, you might find yourself in a predicament where you or a loved one are looking for a new game to add to your collection. Now 2024 was a great year for RPGs. Now one of them that I think that you should definitely add to your list is Stellar Blade. Set on a post-apocalyptic Earth devastated by alien creatures known as the Natiba, humanity has been forced to seek refuge in outer space to survive. To reclaim their home and secure humanity's future, the airborne squad is launched as the final hope. Eve, the protagonist, is at the heart of this mission, must shoulder the immense responsibility of saving mankind. Now, if you're looking for something that is heavy with action combat, think of hack and slash like Devil May Cry and the Souls-like genre combined, you get Stellar Blade. As someone who's a complete noob to this genre, I had a blast playing it, and the bosses were super fun to nail and to defeat each time around. I highly recommend to add this to your collection this year. If you guys enjoy content that goes deeper dive on JRPGs, cozy gaming, then you should definitely check out my channel here on YouTube, again at Cozy Veggie. Again, I just want to thank Alex for taking the time to allow me to be part of this collaboration.
Granblue Fantasy Relink's ability to present a no-frills narrative devoid of fluff and padding is something that should be celebrated. And combining that with incredible dungeon designs, fun character mechanics that'll have you exploring the entire roster, and a presentation that exudes this high production value, and you wouldn't think that this game was in development hell for almost a decade. Granblue Fantasy Relink is an adventurous action RPG that's absolutely worth taking on either by yourself or with new and old friends online. And it's the co-op game we JRPG fans have dreamed of playing for years, and hopefully for even more years to come. It's out now on PlayStation platforms and PC. All of the Mario RPG remakes that's been released over the past year or so have been leading up to the launch of Mario and Luigi Brothership, which is out on the Switch. Much like the other games, Mario and Luigi Brothership combines action and turn-based gameplay in unique ways as you join the brothers and explore different islands, as well as meet a wonderful cast of characters that'll help them along the way. And fun fact, this game is being made by Acquire, the developers responsible for helping Square Enix make the Octopath Traveler series, so you know that this is going to be quality. Regardless, this is the first new Mario RPG we've seen since 2015, so we're all hoping that this is the start of a brand new era of games. What separates the Monster Hunter Stories games from any other monster taming turn-based RPGs out there is its sheer obsession with capturing the mechanics of its action-based big brother. All of the enemies, weapons, and armor from the mainline Monster Hunter games can be found here, complete with original stories that are more involved and character-driven. I'm not kidding. If you're a fan of monster taming RPGs and you want something that's got deep and innovative gameplay that's also really fun and exciting, you owe it to yourself to check out these games. Monster Hunter Stories 1 and 2 Collection is out on PS4, Switch, and PC. Black Myth Wukong is a game that kinda blindsided me, especially with its many Game of the Year nominations. If you're not sure what it is, it's an action RPG based on the classic Chinese tale, Journey to the West. Now, I can't really say that I've been clamoring to play as the Monkey King in any video game ever. Shoutouts to Sayuki Journey to the West, by the way. But Black Myth Wukong does look beautiful, doesn't it? But if this game looks and sounds like your jam, you can find it on PS5, Series X and S, and PC, with a physical release slated for December 12th.
Hey friends, it's Brandon from Just the Gems. Thank you so much, Alex, for having me on. Look, I could talk for days on end about the Trails series and why I think it's so spectacular, but a lot of my feelings about it can be adequately summed up by just looking at the latest entry to release in North America, Trails Through Daybreak. So when it comes to 2024 JRPGs you should play, I have to talk about it. Trails Through Daybreak is a reinvention of the long-running Trails series, and despite what some gatekeepers would like to tell you, it's a great place to start if you're intimidated by the sheer number of titles. You take on the role of Van, a jack-of-all-trades sword who will work with anyone who's willing to pay, whether they're good, bad, or somewhere in between. At the same time, he has his own unshakable code of ethics, which makes him one of the most interesting and complex characters to come out of a JRPG in years. Speaking of complex characters, this game is full of them. You've got Agnes, the student with a mysterious background who carries a burden that'll take the whole game to unpack, and there's Farida, essentially a child soldier who has known nothing except combat for pretty much her entire life. There are a lot more, but we don't have time to cover them all. The cast is full of these complicated and yet lovable characters, so you're almost certain to find a favorite or two among the mix. Gameplay is one of the most creative mixtures of turn-based and action combat I've ever seen. Running around on the field, you can freely confront enemies with your lead character. This means attacking, dodging, using charge attacks, and at any point, literally any point at all, you can press a button and jump straight into turn-based mode. That means every character stops where they are, and you proceed as though this was any other turn-based JRPG. Though even that is underselling it quite a bit, because the depth to this combat system could only have come from something like a dozen games of refinement, which is what the Trails series has had. It's not only one of the best stories in any individual Trails game, but it's the most fun I've had with a Trails game, period. If you haven't already, you need to check out Trails Through Daybreak. JRPGs don't get much better than this in my mind. Anyway, thanks again for having me, Alex, and if you all are interested, check out my channel, Just the Gems, for more of the JRPG content you crave.
If you finished the original Shin Megami Tensei 5 and explored almost every inch of Dot and did every side quest, the thought of doing it all over again, and then some, despite the new canon of Vengeance, might feel overwhelming. However, there are so many new demons and changes to Shin Megami Tensei 5 Vengeance that it's worth a second look. You get new party members, a more in-depth narrative, tons of new ways to traverse the environment, and so much more. And this former Switch exclusive is out now on all modern platforms. Ys 10 Nordics combines some of my favorite elements of both Ys 8's exploration with Ys 9's traversal and gameplay, so I find it fitting that you get to control two characters in this one. With ship combat, town building, sorta, and lots of treasures and secrets to discover, Ys 10 Nordics finally steers the series ship in the right direction, taking you on an action-packed RPG adventure like no other. Ys 10 Nordics is out on PlayStation platforms, Switch, and PC. When I really think about it, the biggest thing that I absolutely loved about playing Bloomtown: A Different Story and exploring its occasionally demonic town is that childlike wonder of stepping into an unknown place with a heightened feeling of adventure and freedom, which is very different from most other turn-based Japanese-style RPGs out there. Bloomtown: A Different Story lets you live that 1980s movie life, where you hang out with your friends and get to go on an adventure that you know is going to be a good time. Bloomtown: A Different Story is out now on all modern platforms. Kunitsu-gami: Path of the Goddess is yet another Capcom game that ventures far away from the glitz, glamour, and popularity of its AAA library and injects it with an indie developer spirit that reminds us of Shinsekai and Okami before it. It's an action game blended with tower defense style tactics, complete with bosses, terrifying yokai, and lots of fun challenges. If you're looking for a breath of fresh air and don't mind yokai being in your face from time to time, then you're gonna want to play Kunitsu-gami: Path of the Goddess, which is out now on PlayStation and Xbox platforms and PC.
Hello Backlog Battle friends, it's Miss Bubbles. Visions of Mana stole my heart this year, and it was truly worth both the hype and the wait. I still cannot get over that emotional roller coaster of a story that I experienced, and how I felt like a void had taken over my life when I wrapped up the credits. The gameplay was amazing despite a few flaws that Visions of Mana suffered from here and there. I enjoyed mixing up my party and playing around with all the elementals which designate class systems in this game. Switching up with my Morley, who had a moon elemental, to my Karina with a water elemental and her cute water gun, then firing up my Val, who had a fire elemental in my game. There was just so much happening on the battlefield, and being able to mix and match these classes with any character was satisfying. Plus, the game looks gorgeous, and riding these cute pickles when exploring made the experience that much better. Add to that, the dungeons always kept me on my toes, and the boss battles, despite some being a bit annoying, they were really fun to take down. Oh, and the music, that was the icing on the cake. You can find me at Miss Bubbles here on YouTube, and thank you, Alex, for inviting me to this awesome video.
He might not be present to rant about this game, but the fact that the Kiseki Nut made a video on Megaton Musashi Wired spoke volumes about how this, too, is one of this year's hidden gems. This is a mecha action RPG from the folks over at Level 5, and the few that have played this game vouch for how much fun this is. And if it's good enough for the Kiseki Nut, it's good enough for me. Megaton Musashi Wired is out now on PlayStation platforms, Switch, and PC. The learning curve to try and learn Romancing Saga 2 Revenge of the Seven might not be the smoothest, mainly because you'll have to unlearn a lot of conventions that you're used to. Like, whoever thought of making a roguelite even before roguelites were even a thing? But when things click, and they will, believe me, you'll notice how every single system in the game works with each other to create this unique take on turn-based JRPGs that only the Saga series had the courage to pursue. Romancing Saga 2 Revenge of the Seven is one of those remakes that easily surpasses the original, and you owe it to yourself to check it out. It's out now on PlayStation platforms, Switch, and PC. Filled with ambition and a desire to return to real-time strategy RPGs, which is a genre they've loved all along, Unicorn Overlord absolutely smashes it, with Vanillaware blending tried-and-true gameplay inspired by Ogre Battle with their obsession with visual and sound design that is only rivaled by games with higher production values. The game is an achievement in many respects, blending beautiful, evocative, and gorgeous 2D artwork that frame an incredible experience that absolutely makes it one of the best games of 2024. And in a year filled with already incredible and engaging adventures and tons of sights to behold, this is one attraction that you simply have to go out and experience for yourself. It's out now on PlayStation and Xbox platforms and Switch.
Hey guys, Nishquick here from the channel Nishquick Pops, and if Metaphor ReFantazio is not on your radar for this holiday season, it really should be. If you're a fan of Atlas games, this is the culmination of 35 years of excellence when it comes to press turn combat system from the Shin Megami Tensei series, amazing character writing and social sim dynamics from the Persona series, amazing storytelling from every single kind of Atlas game, and even awesome and enriching expansive dungeon designs from games like the Etrian Odyssey series. Metaphor ReFantazio is a game that I've been following ever since it was elusively known as Project ReFantasy. It is something entirely new for Atlas. Atlas has made a game in a high fantasy aesthetic and setting, with fantasy characters and magic and dragons, but they're putting their own unique spin on it. I've been on the edge of my seat the entirety of my experience with this game, with a gripping story, amazing characters that I love, and this game has honestly exceeded all expectations that I had for it. I was hyped for this game ever since we saw that first trailer, and I cannot recommend it enough. Thank you so much, Alex from Backlog Battle, for having me on this collab. And for more Nintendo and RPG content just like this, hop on over to Nishquick Pops. I'll see you guys in the next one. Later.
And that, my friends, are 36 must-play JRPGs and games in its periphery of 2024 that I recommend picking up. I also want to take the time to thank my YouTube friends for providing their entries in this video. On their behalf, I hope you enjoy the games that you pick up from this list. If you do decide to pick up any of these games, you'll find these listed in the pinned comment. But I want to hear what you think. Any games here that you'd personally endorse? Any games here that you'd want to play? Post your thoughts in the comments below and let's talk about it. Thank you very much for watching, everyone, and I'll see you in the next video.